challenge.
We live in a world, Brendan, where there is a family esports festival.
It exists.
What a time to be alive.
Come to Korea, you'll see some families, you'll see some esports, and some festivities.
See, I had to move all the way away from my family, and I'm pretty sure none of them are going to come over to Seoul, so got a chance to meet your family here in Seoul, but they didn't come to an esports festival.
Not to an esports festival, but they did watch some StarCraft.
That is true. Good. Well, it's the next best thing.
Yeah.
I think I might just I would just go to a family esports festival just by myself. I'm like, well, I mean, it's an esports festival.
You're part of the esports family, you know. That's
go.
Why they call it the Esports Family Festival.
I don't know if that logic would quite go over very well with them, but if you're living with your family in Korea, you might want to check it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Even if you're not living with your family, you can come to Korea and you can come say hi to us.
That's very true. If you want to come down to Gangnam, witness our style, which is, of course, what the song is about. I mean, I basically look like my tie is on the outside of my collar, so
this is basically Gangnam style, guys.
Doesn't get much more stylish.
That's why we have these shirts. That's why Rapid has his tie on the outside of his collar.
Either that or some producer has like a sadistic sense of humor. But yeah, if you guys ever come to Seoul, make sure to come down to the Nexon Arena in Gangnam and come by and say hi. In the meantime, we are going to go into our last map of the night. Last match of the night is going to be between GuMiho and Deer. Now, Deer faced some challenges earlier on today in the GSL when he went down 0-2 to Ryung. However, he did manage to get his revenge and eliminate Ryung from the GSL and advance to the round of 16 with a 2-0 victory. But tonight, he's going to be facing off against GuMiho, who has a very unique Terran style. Very heated, talked about matchup. TVP, you've already seen it tonight in the form of Hero versus Jokji. Did not look too good for the Jokji perspective.
Hero just made things that fly and things that resonate glaives, and he killed them. That's, if you guys missed it,
yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it.
If you guys
was not the greatest series I've ever seen.
Yeah, if you have glaives out there that are not resonating, what are you doing? Got to get that resonation.
Talk to some Protoss guys. They'll give you the technology. It doesn't cost that much.
You have a Protoss clan just called the Resonation Nation.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like if Protoss was like a WWE player. I call them players because they're basically just actors anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they play WWE. That's their sport, right?
They go home to their families, and their kids are just like, what do you do today, Dad? It's like, well, I played basically an IRL video game.
Yeah. What about UFC, though? Those guys are just called fighters, right?
Yeah,
They're
no,
not
that's actually like
players.
the true hardcore.
Yeah.
Speaking of hardcore, it's been a little bit hard for GuMiho here in the SSL Challenge. He has played twice and lost both of his series. Even though they have been relatively close to 1-2 losses, he's still looking for his first victory. And if he loses tonight, he will most likely be eliminated from advancing on to the next round. So it's do or die here for Psystorm Gaming's GuMiho. And so if you are a Gumi fan, get out there, support him on social media because in some way that helps him play. I don't know.
How do we get those Jin Air Bears, though, more importantly?
The Jin Bears?
Yeah, the Jin Bear.
I'm gonna go jack them somewhere. They're around here. It's going to be hide or seek, me versus the Bears. Something tells me those stuffed animals aren't very good at hiding, Brendan.
And Deer here, 2-1 so far, 5-4. Had a pretty weak series. I think it was against Jokji recently, I think last week, but looking better. Seems like he's figured out that I need to make more adepts and kill the Terrans, and maybe that's what he'll do tonight.
He did a really cool Adept Warp Prism strategy to win his series versus Ryung earlier on today. And so, I mean, if he tries something like that, maybe GuMiho won't know what's coming his way. But, I mean, GuMiho has always been this guy who goes very aggressive and finds these wacky ways to cheese with unique unit compositions. And somehow it works out. When it doesn't work out, he's like, okay, well, you know, GG, go next. And he'll only be able to do that once because this is a best of 3, and it is a best of 3 with GuMiho's SSL Challenge life on the line.
Yeah, he really needs to win this one to have a chance to make it into the second stage, and better yet, the fast lane a little bit later on. And I mean, this guy, he's been through, you know, some stuff. He's had booths fall on him. Having a studio fall on you, I think that's not, that's a little bit too much. But
I think that's a
boots
sign of
fall
some
on
sort.
Yeah.
It's a harbinger, a portent.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll see how he does. He did end up winning that game against Zest after the booth did fall on him.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now we actually don't have hard walls in between. We actually have those little blinder things that you can pull on to.
What do you call those? Are those? I want to call them
blinders.
Shades.
Yeah, I think they're shades actually.
It's gonna tilt
they're like
him, man.
blinders. Shades.
He's gonna look to the right and think that an Adept's gonna replace it.
Perhaps. That would be really scary. That's even scarier than a booth falling on you, honestly. As a Terran player, having an Adept appear right next to you, yeah.
If they kill you in the game, they kill you in real life, Valdez. That's how it works. We're about to get into our last series of the night. GuMiho versus Deer. See if Deer's Adepts are up to par. They're good enough to take Ryung out of the GSL. Are they good enough to take GuMiho out of the SSL? Deer has actually the potential now to eliminate 2 Terran players from their entire leagues.
Yeah, definitely could happen. GuMiho, I'm sure he was watching those matches earlier on, and I hope he's done a bit of studying himself. Here we are, Newkirk Precinct for the 2nd time tonight. Fly Butterfly Dinner, thanks for sponsoring this tournament. Of course, down here in the bottom left, the blue Terran, it is GuMiho.
Indeed, it is Towel Terran here for what could be the last time his opponent looking to make it his last, the yellow Protoss player Deer.
I think Deer, if he does win this, will get an interview as he moves on to the next stage, the 2nd stage, as is its official name.
Still yet to throw down a gas, guys. We'll see if he goes for 1 or possibly 2 Terran player gasless for now, as they are wont to be. No barracks started just yet. Pooling minerals for a CC.
And already double gas here for Deer. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Oracle opening, and this can mean, depending on whether or not it's proxied or not, could definitely mean some trouble for our Terran buddy GuMiho.
Yeah, I mean, most likely will not be proxied. We'll see exactly what is coming up as he does fully saturate both gas geysers. It's going to be some tickety tech on the way as that command center comes down very early for GuMiho.
Yeah, GuMiho's kind of just banking on the idea that perhaps he's not going to know or expect the CC first, but you can already see a chrono-boosted Zealot coming out, and maybe he was watching the games earlier and saying, hey, that's a nice strategy that Hero did with the Zealot and the Pylons. How about I try it?
I actually really like that Zealot. Moving up here with the Probe, I'm not sure. I guess he's scouting for proxies at that point. So not going to find anything there. If it had been hidden just a little bit further up, we'd all just be kind of face-palming right now. But here comes that early Zealot. Like you said earlier, Brendan, or just a few moments ago, worked really, really well for Hero earlier. This Probe is just really intent on finding some shenanigans across the map.
Wants to make sure it's not spotted, too, just in case there's anything trying to walk on out. He wants the Zealot to go first so he can get that Probe in position to make pylons. As you guys do see, once again, there's just one lone Marine, as is what's happening with this build that the Terran player does. I guess if he comes on up and sees no Nexus right now, so he's about to know even more as this first Zealot makes his way up. But look at this. GuMiho has 3 Marines in position to take out this pylon before it has a chance to be built. And actually a nice surround here on the Zealot, trying to get up there and do a bit of damage to those Marines.
Yeah, and Deer started his 2nd pylon too late, so with the 4 Marines, there are 2 more coming up. 2nd pylon won't last either, and that means it's not going to be able to get overcharged. The Probe was taken down as well, and so, I mean, this rush is just totally shut down.
GuMiho, with the SCV Scout, learns so much. He can get his Marine up on the top of the ramp to group up with the other 2. He goes triple barracks as well. He's skipping on the tech to make sure that he survives the early game, which is something that a lot of Terrans aren't really doing nowadays. And he easily holds this with flying colors, no recall, as the Mothership Core actually gets away.
Wow, he definitely could have gone forward and killed that, even just pushing it further back. Now, here comes this Oracle, totally prepared in not one, but both of his bases. Those missile turrets up in just enough time. And yeah, this will just deal no damage. Deer, this looks a lot like when you see a pro player do a build in like GSL, and you think to yourself, wow, I really want to go try that build myself, and you're just a little bit off. I mean, the Oracle's still able to push in and be a little bit annoying, but only 2 SCV kills and not being able to overcharge a pylon. Wow, not going to be nearly as much damage as Hero is able to do against Shock G.
I like the way you put it, actually, where it's like you see a pro player do it, and then you go on the ladder, and it's like, oh, well, that just failed miserably because this guy has been practicing against it for hours on the ladder, and his execution was just not there, to sum it up.
And that's one of the reasons that StarCraft is so difficult to balance, because you have to, like, there are some players who make insane builds work just by being ludicrously fast at doing them. And it's really interesting to see just how broken something can be if you are seconds faster at it. If you're just like maybe 10 seconds too slow, then it's just like the worst build in the world. But if you can make that time up by being incredibly fast, then it's just unstoppable.
Yeah, it's like the Jokti build. You know, it's hitting the Protoss at the exact time where he has 3 Adepts instead of 6, and you just run over him. You run over the first 3 Adepts and then the second 3 Adepts, because they're not groups, they can't fight your 12, 14 Marines, and then you're just fine. You win the game.
Now, a couple of Oracles saved over, but especially with those missile turrets up and ready to go, you're probably not going to get a lot of value there, but this is a little bit interesting. A robotics bay on the way.
Now, I don't want to see Disruptors. I think this might just be Colossi coming out. He already has a bunch of sentries out here. I think he's correctly identified that it's mainly just Marines being built by GuMiho. The tech has been delayed for quite a while based on his build, so he wants to counter them with Colossi.
Starport just now coming up, and it'll be interesting to see, Brendan. We got a chance to see Deer versus it was Billowy earlier on today in PvP, and that battle came down to Disruptor versus Disruptor. Deer actually proved that he had much better control there.
Force fields are late, and all these Marines stim on up. Thankfully, 3 overcharges. Whoa, is going to be enough.
Okay, that's a little bit of overkill. Probably just 1 or 2 would have been enough to send that message. But it's instead of Disruptors, it's going to be Colossus.
Yeah, looks like the right choice here against basically only Marines being built by GuMiho.
There's going to be massive amounts of them coming out and finding just little annoying pickoffs here and there, and keeping both of those Oracles alive.
Yeah, his Oracle control is actually really good this game. Really got to hand it to him. Been practicing that Oracle style, that Oracle opening.
Every once in a while, we'll see pro players who just have that stutter step on the Oracles so perfectly that they can kill SCVs right outside range of a missile turret.
That sucks.
Yeah, unprotected there. Really, Deer just does not have that much on the ground. He tried to get out there a little bit early and go for that rush. It didn't work out. Now he's trying to tech into Colossus, which besides just being very expensive as units, and then he had to build a robotic support bay. He's having to research thermal lance. Lots invested.
Is this Wings of Liberty? I mean, he's staying on 2 base forever because he has to, right? But Colossi Void Ray Death Ball coming out here with extra gateways to follow up.
He's trying to film the Legacy of the Void cinematic. I don't think that's quite the way it worked out either. Although he is still struggling to get this 3rd base up at the upper right-hand position. Instead, he'll take it right in front, but that'll also make it a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, this Marine is going to spot it too. The other Marines are going up to the other 3rd base location.
Just for the time being, I mean, denying the 3rd base up there at the top is, cheeky, I think, is the appropriate Apollo word to use for that. But man, pulling these Void Rays is actually really cool. I don't think I've seen a Protoss player commit quite that heavily, just making a bunch of Void Rays and keeping them a little bit secret.
Stasis wards coming down. I wonder where those were. Looks like they're in the middle of the map. Maybe he wants to bait this in, but it looks like GuMiho has spotted this and will trigger it.
Indeed, that Stasis Ward, much like people to insensitive internet comments, super triggered. Now, thankfully, unlike that reference, they will become untriggered immediately and let that unit go. The unit will probably die. I'm sure there's an analogy there, but moving forward, now these extended thermal lance Colossus, and enough adepts to defend back at home. Really going to make a strong presence there at GuMiho's natural. In the meantime, Gumi pushing into the natural of Deer. Trying to make it through there, but oh man, Deer just running all the way up into the main.
Yeah, we got a base race going on here. And, well, the Voiders are going to do a number to a lot of stuff as long as they don't fly straight into a turret, and actually loses 2 of those. So that's kind of unfortunate. There's not much defense for either of these players, and again, generally you don't want to go into a base trade scenario with a Terran player. But Deer kind of accepting it because he got the better end of it. He got to GuMiho's base before Deer got to, or rather GuMiho got to his. Man,
if I were Deer, I'd be making a lot of Void Rays at this point because Terran buildings can fly. And even if he is able to relocate across the map, I mean, he will have to eventually kill these buildings off. Now, if I'm not mistaken, in the unit counting station, we see no Void Rays. So GuMiho was able to pick that one off. So until Deer builds another one,
fight!
Worker combat. It's not going to look good there. Now, getting his command center burning will have it very low, and there's most likely not going to be enough SCVs to build it. With no Nexi left out there on the map, this is going to be, it will reveal all the buildings that Deer has out there. GuMiho, we're going to clean them out and take this structural victory.
Yeah, he wants to kill the buildings right now, and with the Medivacs, he is so much more mobile. He's not going to land this and repair it.
All right, so this command center most likely will
land it.
Here come the mules. 24, 23, 22.
Just barely.
Wow.
Having those mules there on the map was so key.
Very, very low HP. Now, another command center or orbital will get picked off here. Just a couple more hits, and that one will not be quite lucky enough. Probes going to work. Here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walls come tumbling down. But yeah, clutch repair on those other 2 command centers, that is very, very valuable. That means that even if GuMiho loses every single worker, he will be able to rebuild at some point.
Yeah, very true. And having those 7 Vikings is going to be very key. As I said before, the much more mobile army of GuMiho and saving all of his productions is going to be really nice for when eventually he gets that base up and running. And Deary's kind of just stuck in here. He has to come down the ramp into the Vikings.
No way he's going to get that Nexus up. Now, Deer does have a sizable amount of minerals banked. GuMiho does not. But Deer also has no Nexi, so he will need to build one. He'll need to make a base and defense it.
Well, he's trying to. Not many minerals left in that main, actually. And look at this. I mean, double orbital already just going to land all those mules. The Colossus, one of them gets sniped. It looks like he trades just 1 Viking for that. So a fantastic trade for GuMiho, looking really, really set to win this game 1.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, double orbitals, max and relax and all cool. They're pumping out mules. Double oracles going to be annoying and tag everything, but I mean, at this point, it's really going to be difficult for Deer to come back into the game. If you check the worker count, he has 23, so I mean, workers will be great, but I mean, Terran's going to have, look at all those mules. It's almost the same number as the workers themselves. A couple of them getting picked off, maybe just 1, but I don't know. Who's ahead right now? It's got to be Deer, right? Or GuMiho.
Yeah, definitely GuMiho. Just because he saves all his production, the double orbital, like this, there's just not enough minerals in there.
Yeah, also should be noted that GuMiho
left. He's gonna go fight.
Yeah, GuMiho expanded to the 3rd base location, so there's tons of unfettered minerals just there being mined by all those mules, whereas Deer was forced to build his Nexus defensively in what was the remnants of GuMiho's base, where all the minerals had been depleted.
Okay, he's gonna fight here. He's gonna hallucinate a bunch of stuff to tank, and there is a chance that Deer wins this fight.
Well, if you just look at the army's supply, as we are wont to do, GuMiho very far in advance. The Vikings will take out those Colossus, and there's not enough on the ground to defend. GG! GuMiho takes game number 1.
I overestimated those probes. I was like, yeah, those probes are going to get in there and do damage, but actually they just got shredded. And the 1 Colossus, even though the first hallucinated Colossus did tank a little bit, it just didn't matter because there were enough Vikings to 2-shot even the alive Colossus. So
feels
down
bad.
it went, and GuMiho takes game 1.
Indeed, he does. I got to think that GuMiho had a great reaction to that base race situation. It's like, all right, my buildings can fly. He saved those command centers just in the nick of time. And, yeah, from there on out, it was just muling his way to victory, defended the inevitable attack. Took game number 1.
I just like how he identified that, okay, you're going Colossus Void Ray. I'm going to be so much more mobile than you.
Yeah.
If you want to do base race, that's fine.
Absolutely.
And he saw Deer move out on the map, and he's like, okay, I'm just not even going to fight it. Nope. I'm just going to run around it. That's fine.
He's like, well, I can just, like, kill your base.
You can't come back and defend, and I don't need to defend, so.
Yeah, and then also losing that clutch Void Ray there at the end meant that Deer was unable to really gun down all those flying buildings.
The clutch 3 Void Rays.
Oh, yeah, he actually didn't have the greatest control there on those units. This was a little bit of a weird version of a build that I think he used earlier on to kill, I guess it was Ryung in GSL. It wasn't quite the same style, but he did mix in those air armies with a lot of adepts on the ground, and it just didn't work out quite the same way. He's going up against a different map, different player, lots of things different. Just saying that, you know, we've seen Protoss mixing in a few more Void Rays along the way. Only works if you keep them alive, though. So
yeah. And if he had, that would definitely be a different game, as you were saying. You take out the CCs, you take out the orbitals, you can eventually just defend. You don't have to attack because the Terran can't. He doesn't have enough to make another command center. He can't make another one, so he just has that army. And if you could just defend the top of the ramp and eventually get enough stuff, then you'll just kill him. So definitely the turning point in that game. I think it's pretty even. I think Deer could come into game 2 and definitely just take out GuMiho.
Especially if he follows Brendan's sagacious advice to build more stuff until you have enough.
Yeah, build more stuff until you have enough to kill your opponent, and then you win. That's what I do.
I think that might even be better advice than once you're ahead. When you're ahead, get more ahead. Let's build more stuff until you have enough.
Yeah.
I do that every single game.
It even rhymes.
I know.
I know. Ahead
it's
rhymes with
stick
ahead.
Into your brain. If you're ever in a game and you're just like, "What do I do, Brendan? Help me out."
Build more stuff.
They tweet at
until you have
like,
enough.
"How do I win my game?" while they're playing it. And just like a good Twitter user, you are right there to answer
whispering
their question.
in their ear. Build more stuff.
As if you are there. All ready to help them out. So if you guys want to give us any questions that you are waiting to be answered, then you could do so by hopping on Twitter, just like we talked about. Tweet at Brandon Valdez or at RapidCasting if you have any burning questions that you just have to have answered. Or if you have any comments, if we misspoke and said that the depths weren't good, then you can definitely get on there.
We definitely didn't say that on this
Definitely didn't say
Not
that
today.
here. Positive of that. But
yeah,
if you just want to talk about how cool the number -10 is, that's another thing that you can do there. Either way, let us know what your thoughts about tonight's games are. Use the hashtag SSL, and we'll make sure to read your tweets before we head off the air. Looks like we are about to go into game number 2. It is GuMiho up 1 game against Deer, a player that made it to the next round of GSL. Can he advance to the next round of SSL? GuMiho's life here in the SSL Challenge might be on the line, 1 game away from solidifying himself at least a chance of advancing. We head into map number 2.
What we used to save is not the time we have.
Here we go.
I was just going to make nothing but plane noises the whole time.
You got to make the engine noise, though. That's what I realized. I was doing the whoosh before, but I think it's more like...
Yeah, I'm more of a car engine kind of guy. That's Ice Storm Gaming GuMiho. He's the blue Terran. His opponent in the yellow is the Protoss player. This is Deer. All right, got that out of the way. Okay. Now we can go back to making engine noises.
Looks like he's struggling to breathe. Okay, looks okay now.
Deep breath. Deep breath's highly underestimated, along with things like stretches, things that you've got to get more of in your life.
Yeah, I once, you know, because we're all nerds with nerd back and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, some to higher degrees than others, of course. But I once went on, you know, I was just Googling, and they were like, okay, well, you definitely have to get your breathing right and your stretches in, or else you might get cancer. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that really got out of hand really quickly.
I think that's escalating a little bit too quickly, but yeah, man, my spine's shaped like a question mark. You gotta sit up straight in your chair, get your deep breaths, your stretches.
I'm stretching right now.
Do hand stretches.
It's almost bedtime here.
You guys
it's
are gonna have
almost 1 a.m.
Yep, regular sleep cycles,
Yeah.
something that I am very hypocritically recommending to everyone out there. But yeah, Reaper on the way. While we do have a probe on the way, and I think this might be looking for a proxy.
What building do you guys think is going to be made here?
Well, we don't see
This
proxy
is like
Robo
kindergarten.
I'm going
level.
to guess a Stargate.
Okay. We'll have to, you know, I'm not 100% sure, so we'll have to wait and see what's built.
All right, well, the cybernetics core is just about to finish. Pylon out there on the map should be done very soon. No SCV sent out to scout. It's just going to be this Reaper flowing out of the base. Factory on the way. What's it going to be?
Boom.
It is a star. Called it.
Rapid past kindergarten level StarCraft. Congratulations.
Well, it's just like the Flash. You know, I move so fast that I can travel into the future, travel into the past, see things that have already happened. I can already do that, guys. All right, not a whole lot to defend against this Reaper. It's going to be moving forward, trying to get as many kills as he can. Already one probe going down, but so will the no. Wow.
Well, he went down the cliff.
Indeed.
So you were correct.
He did, in fact, go down the cliff.
Yeah. So he goes in there, sees no mothership core, sees a lot of missing stuff.
Oh, no. Look at this marine pathing. Perfect scouting pattern. He will see this proxy Stargate.
Get that pylon. Reaper, go, go, go. Everything's just going over there, trying to kill the pylon before the Oracle comes out, of course.
Reaper coming over. I think the second Reaper also being rallied right there. They will be able to kill off that pylon.
SCV.
Oh, wow, that was just an SCV. Oh, no, probe!
Oh, he blocked it! He blocked the pylon!
Sickest SCV micro. He stopped that pylon from coming in.
Oh, it goes down. No Oracle for you, dear. Poor
Oh my
guy.
God, sick control. That is top 3 control for
That's
you guys
pretty
right
cool.
there. Immediately throwing up a Robo back at home, but really having to shift gears here for Deer.
Yeah, he's really behind the 8 ball on this one.
Shifting the Deer gears. It's like if you ever, there's a series of games way back in the day. You used to see these games in like Walmart and Target. You'd walk out, you walk into there, they have like a bright orange box. And it's called Deer Hunter, but it's a game where like the deer is the one hunting the hunters.
It sounds kind of scary.
It was actually
I think I know what you're talking about.
super
though.
sick game, but that was like the 1990s to 2000s game that you saw in all of like the super cheap discount video game stores that were just trying to pretend to sell video games. They didn't actually sell video games.
They were just trying to be one of us.
Well, now he is truly the deer being hunted. GuMiho stops that early Stargate from really doing anything, and forces Deer rather to play a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, which is not what you want to do when you're the Protoss, obviously. You don't want to have 2 Stalkers. You want to be making Adepts. You want to be keeping the Terran in his base. You don't want to have to deal with a 5 Marine drop at 4.5 minutes into the game. He's going Colossi again. I don't know about this.
Yeah, this definitely did not work out in game number 1. Colossi, just really not a unit that we see really all that often. I feel like maybe even Disruptors would be better. I mean, it's not also a unit we see quite that often. Bring me back those big Immortal pushes, man. I never thought I would say that I haven't seen one of those
War Prism speed, here we go.
quite too long. But yeah, War Prism's much more impactful to the Protoss army. So we'll probably see a few of those out there as well. And third base coming up for Deer ahead of GuMiho's. Whenever a player loses a bunch of units or loses a bunch of money or buildings early on and then they out-expand their opponent, I think to myself, I mean, maybe that's the way you get back in the game, but it's certainly not going to help you win any fights.
Ooh, look at that. Cheeky Observer Snipe. And I think there was probably one more Observer made. Not 100% sure about that. No Observer PC here, so I can't really check. I like how GuMiho kept that Liberator behind the third base. He's just waiting for it to complete and saying, okay, when this does complete and you transfer those probes, I'll be able to get some real damage done instead of risking going into the main.
Yep, that's the Orlando Bloom Liberator, waiting for the opportune moment. He'll find it eventually, just like GuMiho found that Observer eventually. That's actually the second one of these snipes, so really being very conscientious. Not pretentious. There we go.
Actually, he does go into the main and is going to kill, looks like 3.
Oh, maybe even more. No, the gas probe not quite in range. But here comes out that first Colossus. It's unupgraded, so really can't do much of anything.
Oh, the timing was so unfortunate there for GuMiho. The stim and the combat shields just maybe a couple of seconds behind. StarCraft really is a game of split seconds.
Bunkering up here, really punishing this slow, not slow, but the delayed extended thermal lance. Bunker denied, but a siege tank coming up. Joining its brother.
Yeah. And now that third base isn't mining, by the way. That's just a Nexus that's not doing anything. Wasted minerals right now.
That's got Chrono Boost.
Yeah, that's true. Forgot about little Chrono Boost buddy.
All right, moving forward now, trying to bust out against these tanks. Zealot's getting into melee range. Nice amount of damage being done here by this Colossus, and that'll be enough for Deer to clean this up. I really underestimated those Colossus. I'm sorry, I doubted you. It'll never happen again. Please come back.
Well, they do say respect the Void Rays. They don't really say respect the Colossus.
No, in general, you
Deer
stand
trying to
into
make
the
a
Colossus
case
and kill them, but
yeah, only Marines. All that gas going towards the tanks, and actually GuMiho's like, no, I can just stay here.
Oh my God! Look at that tank hit. It's going to be unsieged, picked up at the last second. Great drop harassment, and another Liberator denying mining at the natural.
GuMiho is just being so obnoxious now, coming in here with the second Liberator at the main. More and more damage being done. It looks like tanks are even sieging the natural.
Wow.
He's trying to box Deer in. He wants to trap him.
A different player entirely, but now moving forward, there are the Stalkers and even a couple of sentries getting in on the action. But in the meantime, this natural continually getting harassed. GuMiho just fighting on so many fronts. He's going to actually take out this Nexus.
Looks like he will. All right, he's going to be very, very close. Will he commit? That's the question. Looks like it. Gonna commit, and down it goes. Takes out that natural, so now a base ahead, and even if this gets cleaned up, he has done so much damage in this game. Killing a Colossus even.
I mean, the third base hadn't really been mining all that much, so he will be able to shift over to that, but not enough to deal with those Vikings. Down it goes, GG! GuMiho keeping his SSL hopes alive, winning that match, and preventing Deer from eliminating his second player.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I was really surprised when I saw Deer come out today in GSL and actually make it out of the group, especially, you know, against Ryung, a player that has done so well in GSL recently, and especially because he had such weak games against Jokji last week here in Challenge. So GuMiho coming in here and 2-0ing him is what I expected. I feel like that GSL win is kind of like an anomaly, you know? In my mind, like, everything was going smoothly until all of a sudden he made it through GSL, and then it's like, okay, this is where I would expect him to be in this matchup.
You know, different players handle different situations differently. So some players are able to like, really go for those like long stamina-intensive tournament days, things like, you know, an IEM open bracket or something like a DreamHack open bracket, like several players will be trying to go for in Austin in just a few days. So, you know, those take a lot. Those take a different kind of player where you really have to, you know, run the long game. And for guys like Deer and Ryung, both of them had to play earlier on in GSL, both with very mixed results, some wins, some losses. In the end, Deer survived GSL. Ryung did not. And Ryung getting eliminated earlier on today. Deer not quite up to par against GuMiho. Like we said earlier, played a very different style, I feel like, than guys like Ryung would. And wound up staying alive, keeping his SSL hopes in this. Deer, not eliminated by any means, but we only have one more week of SSL season, or not season one, but SSL, like, what do you call that?
First stage.
Stage one, there we go.
So it's stage one and then second stage. And then the fast lane.
We're building
Nothing makes sense.
We're building like the SSL rocket. This is like the SSL game of civilization. We're trying to win by building our space rocket.
Science victory.
We've got stage one, stage two about to come out, and then apparently instead of stage three we have a fast lane. But let's take a look at today's results. Ryung taking out Bunny relatively as expected. Jokji getting bibbity bopped by Hero, even though he did find a pretty cool game to win. And TY dominating Lucira, and very similarly GuMiho taking out Deer.
Yeah, so Bit of a shorter day today compared to last week. Last week we had 3 2-1s and 1 2-0. Today is the
3-2-1.
opposite.
1-2-0.
Yep.
That's how it works out. And here are our final standings. Hero, our first player to make it on to stage 2, along with Bjorn. All right. Okay.
I suppose so.
That's the thing that happened.
I think with Deer and his loss
Right.
today, Bjorn actually does secure it. So no interview today, but maybe next week.
That feel when you make it to the next stage and aren't here for your interview. And then, of course, TY advancing on to the second stage apparently as well, due to the records of the rest of the players in his group. Young and Bunny won't be able to eclipse him. And that does send us into our next day of SSL Challenge, which will be once again next Saturday at 10 p.m. Classic Bunny, GuMiho, TY, and Ryung, which should be a wowzers kind of match. And then Hero and Beyond as our last match of SSL Challenge Round 1.
Yeah, the 2 last matches there are definitely going to be the highlight matches. And even, I think, TY Ryung would be even better. And here is Premiere on Monday in just 2 days at 7 p.m. SOS versus Zest, Innovation versus Alive, Solar versus Bial, Stats versus Patience, and then Mara versus Dark. Lots of good games for that day.
And then on Thursday, SSL Classic returns, and so does Light, who's out for personal injuries last week. Did give a walkover victory to Solkey, and he'll be back this week to try to take on his Terran opponent, Mind, what should be a welcome back. Not very kind welcome, because Mind has actually really been crushing it. But our marquee matchup of that SSL Brood War Classic is going to be Solkey versus Rain, our 2 StarCraft 2 legends returning to Brood War.
From SKT as well.
Yeah, from SKT. You know, they both had very differently kind of highlighted careers. Guys like Solkey going internationally and just killing it over there. Guys like Rain, one of the best players ever to touch the game of StarCraft 2. And now he's doing a lot of cool stuff with StarCraft Brood War. Very aggressive builds. He did a forward pylon gateway rush in his first game. He did 2 base carriers in game number 2. What kind of wacky shenanigans will he come out with in day number 3 of SSL Classic? Well, you'll have to tune in to Wolf and I broadcasting that on Thursday.
Those are very fun days, too. It's just like a quick days, too. They're usually like an hour, hour and a half. You just zoom on through it, some nice Brood War games, just 4 best-of-1s.
And if StarCraft 2 is your deal, then you can come back on Monday and tune into the SSL Classic, or the SSL Premiere. There's so many SSL, I can't keep track. So in short, to recap, if you're into StarCraft Brood War, ASL returns tomorrow night. You can check that out. And on Thursday, we'll have SSL Classic. If you're into StarCraft 2, you'll have to wait until next week. We start things off on Monday with SSL Premiere, and then moving into GSL on Wednesday and Saturday that week.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're already almost about halfway through, I believe, but enough of that, guys.
Yep, we're halfway through the season.
Yeah, SSL is very, very nice, and it looks like that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time here at SSL Challenge.
Bring out the dancing love.